10 months of winter and 2 months of bad skiing. And basically, I went to grade 13, and that counted as a year of undergrad. So I could become a lawyer after 2 years of undergrad university if I got in law school. So I did half of a business of commerce, BCom, Be Cool, University of Windsor. I had a $1,500 scholarship in '83, which is now be about 15,000. I went there because I didn't have a lot of money. I come from a very blue collar town, about 100,000 people. About 70% are First Nations, Ojibwe. And I grew up playing hockey and skiing and ice fishing and hunting and all that stuff. I'm Irish background. My mom and dad are, my father was a master electrician. My mother ran the business and kept it all going. And then I got into law school in '83. I was going to go to Windsor Law School, but I wanted to go to see the big city of Toronto. If you're from a small town, you want to experience it. And so then I went to Osgoode Hall Law School up at York University. I did the criminal intensive program, which was one of 6 semesters. And I was placed with a Crown attorney. The choices were a judge, Crown attorney, or defense. And I had a choice to go with Eddie Greenspan or Clayton Ruby or some Superior Court justices, but I wanted to be a Crown attorney since I was 16. So after law school, I articled at a Bay Street firm called Gardner Roberts, Gardner Expressway, 80 lawyers. I wanted to find out what I didn't want, and I didn't want to do anything but criminal. I did night court prosecutions at Old City Hall from '83 to '88, made about 18 bucks an hour, big money back then. That'd be about $35 an hour now. And I prosecuted everything under the Highway Traffic Act, the Compulsory Automobile Insurance Act, drive no insurance, careless driving, failed to remain. I did some appeals in front of provincial court judges as a student. I did class cases, community, legal aid cases for a lot of people in Jane and Finch. So then I got a job as a Crown attorney in '88. I did about 90 jury trials, done about 45 homicides. And then after being a senior trial Crown attorney in Toronto for 16 and a half years, I went to the dark side. I went from prosecuting the guilty to the defending the innocent. And I've been at this for 34 years now. I'm 59. I was making about 150,000 as a Crown attorney. The most you can make is about 230 these days. You can't make more than the Premier of Ontario, Ford. You can't make more than the Attorney General, who makes about 270. Premier makes about 290, but as a Crown attorney, you can make about 230, and you start at 80,000, which is pretty good money. And you are with government, so you get all the bells and whistles. I stayed for half my career there, and now I have about 20 people working for me. We go all over Ontario, all over Canada, really, but really Toronto, GTA. I get a lot of referrals from police officers. I act for a lot of police officers. Our specialty is people that get in trouble once and we don't want to see them again. I do a limited amount of legal aid because it pays about $100 an hour. Because I'm old, I can charge $130 an hour, and I bill out at $850 an hour. And the reason my hair is a bit messy is because I bought a convertible Lamborghini, orange one, a Gallardo. So maybe I'm going through a middle age crisis or whatever. So I was going as fast as I can without getting a stunt driving on the DVP. So you can make good money in criminal law. 80% of corporate lawyers make good money. 70% of personal injury lawyers make good money. 65% of immigration lawyers make good money. 90% of tax lawyers make good money. 95% of security lawyers make good money. This is in Toronto. And about 10% of criminal lawyers make good money. So you have to be in that 10%. What helped me is if you can find somebody, I'll give you $500 Canadian who's been in court as long as I have for my age. So I've been in court consistently since I was 21, 1983, Highway Traffic Act prosecutor. About 50% of Highway Traffic Act prosecutors, maybe 40% are lawyers. The rest are kind of clerks. They went to paralegal school and they get paid about $70,000 to about $150,000 as a Highway Traffic Act prosecutor, prosecuting provincial statutes. I was prosecuting the criminal code. As you probably know, in federal prosecutors, prosecute federal statutes. Among the main one is Controlled Drug and Substances Act. It used to be called the Narcotic Control Act. And I prosecuted Youth Criminal Justice Act matters between 12 and 17. The police call it the Young Goofs Act. They call it Smurf Act. Smurf Court, yeah. So anyhow, so from 83 to 88, I was in court 2, 3, 4 times a week. And then I became, when I articled, I was in court going for motions and commercial litigation and stuff, and doing night court 3 or 4 times a week. And then since I've been a Crown attorney, I've been going to court. So let's see, 83 to 21. If I've been 33 years since 88, another 5, 38 years of being in a courtroom. So I'm a barrister, a courtroom expert, I guess. In Thunder Bay, they think I'm a judge, which is pretty funny. But anyways, so 38 years as a courtroom lawyer, half as a Crown, half as defense, but a little bit more as a Crown, or a half Crown as a Highway Traffic Act prosecutor. So find me, $500 I'll give you if you can find somebody that's been in court as long as me. I haven't found anybody in North America, but now I'm going to India and other Commonwealth jurisdictions to find. So where does that get me? Well, I do a lot of teaching, and I just think that it's good to pay it forward. I give a $1,000 scholarship award, the Calvin Berry Criminal Lawyers Award up at Lakehead University to the new law school. I've given 2 out now. And I'm just paying it forward for my hometown, Thunder Bay, Ontario, where my mom and dad are 81 and 82, and my 3 sisters, 2 of who are nurses. They're all up there, and I'm the only one that left because there was no law school in Thunder Bay, so I had to leave. Why did I take business of commerce undergrad? Because I wanted to have a marketable degree, and I never thought I'd get into law school. I thought law school was for smart people like you folks, and people from Toronto and Montreal and Vancouver, not little hip Thunder Bay, Ontario. If you Google Thunder Bay, Port Arthur, Ontario, and Fort William, Chief Justice Borilaskin was from Thunder Bay, and his brother was the mayor, and Borilaskin became the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court of Canada. He'd be about 90 now, but there's a Borilaskin Law Library at the University of Toronto, and he actually went to Osgoode, which is my law school. I was on the alumni board of directors at Osgoode Hall Law School. I teach up there, and I do a lot of teaching. When I was a Crown, I taught judges, police, justice of the peace, went to law schools, universities, high schools, police divisions, blah, 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 talking about the charter, talking about criminal substantive law, criminal procedure, evidence. I prosecuted some really high profile cases, including Naomi Campbell, the famous international model. I prosecuted about 5 NBA players, 1 from the Raptors. I prosecuted an NFL football player in Toronto. Who else? A lot of big celebrities. Rick Vive, I defended, the captain of the Maple Leafs, who scored more goals than any other Leaf, but he's about 60 now, around my age. And I had a lot of other NHL players that some I can't divulge because it never made the social media. A lot of I can talk about because it was already out there before I got involved. And that's your solicitor-client privilege stuff, like Donovan Bailey, fastest man in the world, gold medalist. I acted for him on a DUI as a defense. So why defense? More money. My first year I made $500,000 because it's private sector and you get lower taxes, you can write stuff off. How many hours do I work a week since I've been 18, 60 to 70? Where have I been in the world? 85 countries. There's 360 countries about in the world. So I've been to Brazil, down the Amazon, Israel, Ireland, all through South America, Thailand, Malaysia, Morocco, South Africa, Egypt, Tanzania, Kenya, where I saw a lot of safaris. And I've been to India, been to the Maldives. I dove the Barrier Reef. I'm a scuba diver. I got a wife who is a landscaper. Always get a partner that doesn't do what you do. Otherwise, you'll go crazy. So we had our, if you grab a Toronto Sun today, you'll see one of our big CFL Mr. Larson, we got him exonerated. And I got paralegals working here. I got students doing their placement from various colleges like Humber and Seneca. They either need 120 hours or 420 hours if they're taking a degree program to become paralegals and be licensed to write their bar of Ontario to be a paralegal. We had about 4 articling students. I think we're down to 3. I got 4 lawyers. I subcontract with about 8 other lawyers. And I got a nice little cottage property up in Port Carling where I'm going to go up to my boat this weekend. In Port Carling, that's where Kate Hudson used to cottage, 2 hours north, but you might know that. And I live up at 401 and Yonge Street. As a prosecutor, I prosecuted the Hells Angels. I was in a biker enforcement unit. I did a lot of big murders, a lot of gang stuff, had threats on my life, had a live bullet in my mailbox one time, had police protection because some of these people, you know, they watch too much TV maybe. But I was pretty safe and it was a great experience. I was on our union, on the Ontario Crown Attorneys Association, so we lobbied for better working conditions, and with the Attorney General of Ontario, who's now a guy named Downey as the Attorney General, and of course, Ford is a premier, and I was a lawyer for his brother, the mayor, during that crack scandal and some of the allegations that were going on with his mayor tenure. So that's me. But enough about me. Oh, I got a office at 113 Front Street. We got a big boardroom. We got a bunch of fish tanks, and I'm looking at some fish right now from all over the world. We got a library we never use behind me. I just do that for when I'm on TV, but that's good for. We usually use, you know, all quick law and Westlaw. So, is anybody wanting to go to be a lawyer out there?
I know I am, and I'm pretty sure the 3 other people who are here. I mean, I don't want to speak on behalf of them, but if they want to go ahead and talk about their aspirations, go ahead. Yeah, no, I know I am. I wanted to be a lawyer ever since like grade 4.
Oh,
um,
good.
yeah, it's a funny
I
story.
was 16 because I saw some a friend of mine who lives in Malibu, and was an actor slash movie guy. He's on his 4th wife now. He lives in Malibu. He lives right beside the Kardashians. Anyways, him and I been friends since we're about grade 4.
Yeah.
We're in Cubs together, and he got a little pushing match in high school, and I went to young offender court, and that's when I decided I wanted to be a crown attorney. I saw the judge, and the judge looked bored and bald and old. The defense lawyer was a little too slick, walking around. The crown attorney was surrounded by police, putting exhibits in a bag, and his courtroom was full with accused and witnesses, and court reporter was the clerk. And that's when I decided I wanted to go and be a crown attorney. And then that was I was 16, that was 79, and then 1986 I got my law degree. In 1988 I was a crown attorney. So I fulfilled my dream in this great country of Canada, and I felt like when I was a prosecutor that I would do it for free. I didn't have to be paid, and if you have that much passion for your job, you'll always do well. My days sometimes are 15-hour days, and they go by in 5 minutes to me, which is probably a good thing. I'm never looking at the clock. I did work at a paper mill at Abitibi Provincial Paper all through high school, and we sure looked at the clock. I used to work night shifts in making paper for magazines and newsprint all over North America, but it paid big because of big unions back then. So, if you folks want, I've got a couple students from Ryerson that are doing their articling here. I got students from Windsor, Osgood, Ottawa, Western that are doing stuff here. And is everybody living in Toronto or no?
I live in Durham.
Close enough. We got a lot of court cases in Oshawa. So next time we have a Oshawa case and we get out of this Zoom court proceedings and we go into live court again, which we are doing live court too with the masks on and everything. And I'm getting my second job, I think, next week. I got a Pfizer out of the Metro Convention Center. Then you can come and watch a court there, and we can introduce you to the judge and the crown and all that if you want.
Yeah, I love
Um,
that.
we got about 50 matters in Oshawa. We got matters in Coburg, Kingston, Belleville, Picton, all east out there.
Mhm.
And so, yeah. And the other thing is, if anybody wants to come and hang out for a few hours in this month or next month, just get a hold of Josephine and we'll set it up. She just became a lawyer about a month ago, so she can talk about her experiences at Windsor Law School and articling and yeah, all those kind of things. So I know Marie Hennon very well, one of the top criminal lawyers, defense. Used to be with Eddie Greenspan in Canada. She's a friend of mine. I had trials with her when I was a Crown, so I can even introduce you to her. But you know, it's all about trying to learn and see whether you want to do this, because it's, you know, it took me 2 years undergrad, 3 years law school is 5, articling 6, barred was 7, so 7 years to do this. But I got friends who are doctors now, and they had 10 or 11 years of university and residency and all. Articling, you don't really count because you're having fun, you're making a little bit of money. I was at a Bay Street firm that paid top shelf money in 1986, and I was getting paid 22,000. And Tory was paying 26, and now articling at a Bay Street firm is probably about 75 to 90. So it's come a long way. But criminal law, you got to be weary. You don't make a lot of money articling. But if you go the way I went, or if you're good at marketing, advertising, if you're good at getting results, if you're organized, if you know your law and the charter, a lot of charter litigation, if you're interested in that. And if you want to be a lawyer, you got to decide two things. You want to be a barrister or a solicitor. A solicitor is like a contract lawyer, a corporate lawyer, commercial lawyer, an estate lawyer, a securities lawyer. A sports agent is really a solicitor because you're negotiating contracts. Then there's a barrister, and that's a courtroom lawyer. Do you want to do criminal litigation? Do you want to do family litigation, estate litigation, commercial litigation, corporate litigation? Those are the decisions you have to, you know, make. And the earlier they make it, in my view, the more successful you'll be. Problem with young people these days, heard that one before from your parents, eh? Is that they can't focus in on one thing. You got to pick something, go for it. And it might not be the best every day, but 90% of the time I like this work. And you can make a good living from it. And from where I come from, I'm just happy to have a suit on and have air conditioning in the summer and heat in the winter indoors. So I worked outside with my father, and manual labor was tough on my father, but he had a really good career too. It just wasn't for me at the end, and he really pushed me to just go to university and go for further education. Okay. So the hardest part about becoming a lawyer is getting in law school. I'll tell you right now, it was the hardest part for me. It was like going up like this, grade 9 to 12, undergrad, getting top marks, write the LSAT, and then you get in, and then it went like this for the last 35 years. In terms of stress, in terms of, is it going to get worse than this? It doesn't. The hardest part is getting into law school. And I would think very few people would disagree with me that are where I'm at now. Like, I don't think I could pass that LSAT now, just so you know. And I used to be a proctor for the LSAT. I used to walk around, make sure nobody was cheating and stuff. And then we started taking fingerprints when you wrote the LSAT. And it's an American test still from Newtown, Pennsylvania, and it might still be that. So is anybody past undergrad here?
I don't think so. No, I think we're all still in undergrad.
Okay, so just tell me, each of you, like, what university are you at?
I'm University of Toronto, and
Right.
you can go ahead.
I'm
And
also at the
Julie-
University of Toronto.
Julie, you're U of T?
I'm McGill University.
McGill, that's a very good school. Internationally, that's the best university in the world, like Canada. And then there's U of T. And then there's a big clump of Western Queens, UC, Dalhousie, and I would say York, if you're talking about Osgood or the MBA. I mean, that's just what I see, but I could be wrong. Windsor's come a long way, and Calgary's got a good law school too. Anybody else? We've got McGill, U of T, I'm York. What about
I'm at Waterloo right now.
Waterloo's good. I got a good friend from Waterloo named Don Walker. He was the CEO of Magna, and he just retired, but he made 35 million last year. And I cottage with him up there, and he was a mechanical engineer because automotive parts with Frank Stronach up in York region. And again, you are Persian.
Wow, that's the first time someone's correctly guessed that. How did you
Yeah,
know?
because I live up around Young and Shepherd, and my friend is Hakeem Optical. I bought my glasses from him. He's
Oh,
Persian Iranian.
Yeah.
The best restaurant in Toronto is Darbar, which is
wow.
on Avenue Road in Lawrence, and that's the best Persian food in Toronto, 5-star restaurant. I go there with my wife. And the last claim to fame is a guy named Shane Baghai. And he owns about 5,000 condominium units, a lot of Young and Shepherd and stuff. And he's that Persian background.
Wow. Well, I'm really impressed and flattered that you know so much about like.
Yeah, they're good folks. So I just met a lot of Iranian people. I want to go and visit once things get safe. That'll be my country number 87, I think.
Oh wow. You know, I want to say one thing about visiting Iran is most people when they see Iran represented in Western media, they think it's like really, you know, volatile and dangerous. But like I do want to say that when you go inside Iran, like the Iranians themselves are very friendly people. Like I've had a lot of foreign friends in Canada who went to Iran and had really positive experiences. The food is, if you think the food here is good, the Persian food here, the Persian food in Iran
Yeah,
is
I heard. Yeah, I want to go. In fact, we're having luncheon on Friday, and the Darbar is catering it. We just have
wow.
order. See, because of the pandemic, we're right beside St. Lawrence Market, so we bring food from all different countries and have it on here the boardroom on Friday, and I just do that for something to keep everybody happy because it's been a little tough with the pandemic and everything. But we've been essential service. We've been working since 16 months. I've been coming to work every day, going to court, and our business has gone up since the pandemic because everybody is losing their mind. People are driving drunk that usually wouldn't. Wives are beating husbands, husbands beating wives, brothers are beating sisters, allegedly. A lot of stunt driving, a lot of people racing those cars around on the 407 and dangerous driving. A lot of people are doing drugs that weren't doing drugs before. So I'm almost embarrassed to say that we're busier than ever, but I guess it's a good thing. So are grocery stores, so are truckers, and obviously nurses and doctors and medical people and that sort of thing. So now what I'm going to let you folks do now is when you ask me any question, the way you're going to learn from a practitioner is for me just to be transparent, because I think that I don't have a lot of respect for professors. I mean, I know it's great and all that, but they seem to think that they know how it works down here in the courtrooms, but they don't. And so a lot of times when you tell me what your professor said, he or she, and I go, well, that's not the way it works here. I always said people that were teachers are people that can become doctors or lawyers, but they would be very upset if you told them that. So maybe I heard that from somebody else. How's that? Anyhow, do you have any questions about anything?
Yeah, I think Megan has a question. She can go ahead.
Yeah, so Mr. Berry, your career is so impressive. Like when you tell stories about the high profile celebrities that you've represented and all the cases you've done, it's obviously, there's no doubt that it's very impressive and that it's taken you so much hard work to get to where you are. My question to you is, can you share to us a little bit about the early years, fresh out of law school, like the early working years? Was it as glamorous and high profile as where you are now? Or like the struggles that you faced in early years and how you got yourself to the level that you are now?
Well, yeah, that's a good question. When I was a young prosecutor, what I did to compensate, because I was pretty nervous about how can I say it? When I came down to Toronto and I went to Osgood Hall Law School, a lot of people came from very wealthy families and they had nannies and they had, the parents would cook for them and do their clothing. And I was down here by myself with no money, staying at grad residence at York University. and I basically had to do my laundry. I used to go get a slice of pizza for dinner. I used to run. That was my stress reliever. I'd run like 3, 4 times a week for about 45 minutes all around the campus. And I ran a bit in university and track at Windsor. And I used to just read everything twice. I used to take, back then, there wasn't a lot of social media in 83. So I would take an 800-page book, let's say it was torts, and then I'd do a summary of that book. And that summary would be 60 pages. Then I do a summary of the summary. This is all hand bombed, but now you can do it on computer. And then I get down to 30 pages. And then I get it down to 8 pages for the exam. And then I would just, the night before, I just keep on reading that 8 pages. And every paragraph could open up 20 pages of writing. That worked for me. I don't know if it works for other people, but I always thought that I wasn't that smart. And that might have been because I came from a blue collar city for the most part. And my parents had grade 10 and grade 9 because they had a baby and they got married. The old shotgun marriage, you know. They've been married for 63 years now and pretty happy. And I got 3 great sisters. But so I thought I'd compensate and I would just study as hard as I could. Now, for people that get a cup of coffee, you know, a big pot of coffee, and they just memorize an exam and they get a mark, I always envy those people. I couldn't do it. I was too scared to do it. It was too risky. Just like I was too scared to be an investment banker or a stockbroker in this world. I wanted to, you know, I'd be happy just being a crown attorney because I think, you know, you're making $240,000. That's pretty good salary on top of the fact you get a pension. And a pension is worth about $5 million these days, especially now you're going to live to be 80, 90, 100, where 30 years ago, an old person was 70 and I'm 59. Oh, that's scary. So I think it's work. It's blood, sweat, and tears. I was lucky because I got a lot of high profile cases because I worked so hard. The boss gave me a murder when I was really young, like 2 years out. And then you have a murder under your belt, so I can go and say, give me another murder now. And then I think to be a professional, whether you want to be a doctor, a lawyer, or an MBA business person, I want to get through it. I want to be as young as I can be when I get out. I don't want to go do a master's at university and pay all this money. It's so expensive. I mean, I think that's a great thing too, but my vision was to be a lawyer. I was one of the youngest lawyers in Ontario. I was 25. And I was doing jury trials my first year. And my first jury trial, some guy shot a guy in his stomach at a trailer park. And I did that 6 months out. I did it by myself. And I tell you, I was shaking like a leaf. And I stayed up all night. The defense lawyer was 25 years out. And I won. I probably shouldn't have won. And I learned a lot. The judge yelled at me a bit. And the defense lawyer was talking down to me. But you learn a lot from getting knocked down and getting back up again. And so then my boss says, oh my God, you did a jury trial, you're on TV and all that. And then you've made it. You know, it's like playing in sport and you're on a women's hockey team and you score a goal when you're young and they draft you, or soccer. So I'm of the vision, you know, get your 3 years bare minimum university, write that LSAT, get in law school. Don't take a year off and find yourself. Don't go backpacking. I tried to ask my mom and dad to do that, and they said, well, you do that, we're not paying for your university. So sometimes you got to be cruel to be kind. And I haven't had one break in the continuity of my career since I've been in grade 9, let's say, right? I did everything textbook like your parents would want to, and their parents and their parents. Grade 9 to grade 13 when it was 13. Undergrad university, law school, articling, bar ads, Crown's office, defense. Why am I so busy now? Because everybody seems to want somebody who used to be from the Manhattan DA's office. And now he or she's out defending O.J. Simpson. I had to get somebody who was a prosecutor because they've seen both sides and they know what the Crown's thinking. While that thinking seems to prevail, lucky for me, I specialize in people that get in trouble once and don't get in trouble again. Those people happen to be ones that can pay their legal bill. Impaired over 80, a little boring, but they own cars, they pay insurance, they can pay their lawyer. And you might want to decide that you want to be a lawyer that, you know, Maybe you want to be a professor as a lawyer. Maybe you want to be a social justice lawyer. I do that too, but I just do, a handful of cases for free or on legal aid. I don't make any money. I took on a murder just so the young lawyers could have some fun, and I keep an eye on it. I don't want to do any more murders. I don't want to wear my black gowns anymore. They're hot in the summer. So, it's kind of been there, done that for that. And I wanted to see what it would be like to be entrepreneurial, have it sounds silly, but to have revenues exceed expenses, to be able to own a lot of things. So I own my building, my law firm. I own my house. I own about 3 properties. I own 100 acres on Lake Superior. I put a log cabin up there. I got a Bentley, a Lamborghini, a Porsche, a truck for the wife. I got a beautiful 16-year-old son who has autism that I pay 10 grand a month to make sure he gets all his private school at Robert Land Academy. You'll see once you get to be 30 and 40, the people you went to law school with, that you were smarter than, that you worked harder than. They're getting cottages, they're buying cars, they're buying planes, they're helping their parents who need to see a doctor at the Mayo Clinic or the Rochester Hospital. And you might go, oh my God, I wouldn't mind making some money. You put such a commitment, such a sacrifice, why not have some rewards? Why not drive that sports car? Why not buy your grandfather a nice Mercedes when he turns 80 or whatever? I mean, these are things you can do. My son can now go to school anywhere in the world. And Canada is a great country for it. I mean, the only other country I would live in is Australia, New Zealand, Canada, England. I put the US around 5th or 6th now because they kind of had a lot of problems in the last 6 years with that crazy president that they had, that my wife turns a channel when he comes on with that bad hairdo. Oh, we know who we're talking about, right? So anyhow, why don't we do another 5 minutes of questions and I'll try to answer them, but I hope I kind of, in a shotgun way, answered your question. What about you, Veronica Saramet?
I was just wondering, I know a lot of other lawyers say that they sometimes have some struggles with separating work life from personal life, especially in criminal law, in those first few years, because you're seeing a lot of things that you maybe haven't dealt with before. Do you have any tips about that or any stories of how you've had to kind of split that up?
I hang around with music producers. I hang around with musicians. I like doctors because doctors are like Jesus, they save you. I get so much respect for doctors. If I had an 89 average in high school, if I had a 90, maybe, but it just wasn't quite there. But all my friends are doctors, and I got a lot of friends who are business people, a lot of contractors, a lot of people that do house development. I got buddies that are plumbers and electricians that are friends of mine since high school. I got a guy that owns a railway up in the Yukon. I like running. I like my dog and got a rabbit for my wife. I like fishing. I play the piano. I got my grade 8 piano and I sing and play the piano, but I'm boring to you. I'm more 70s Bob Dylan and Supertramp and Gordon Lightfoot and Elton John and a little bit of Queen, but I can't sing that high. Paul McCartney, Simon and Garfunkel, stuff your parents would like, James Taylor. So I got a grand piano in my place, and I like traveling. I like going all over the world. It made me a much better person, and I've seen some great things. And I want to go travel. I still want to go to China and Russia when they're safer to go. You got to be able to, you have to be able to do things that and meet people that aren't in this business. I got a lot of friends who judges. And I just sold one of my cars to a judge who used to be a Crown, used to be my boss. He's at 2201 Finch Court. So and then you got to be able to shut it off. I got a great way of shutting stuff off. But in criminal law, it's almost like triage. I do have to take calls 7 days a week, but I delegate it as I get older now. When you get older, you'll find you can do less, and you can give everybody else that are working for you, lawyers and paralegals, all the things you never wanted to do, like research. I don't want to do any research. Quick law, Westlaw. I want to just get my bags and they hand everything to me and I walk in and say, okay, let's go here and start asking questions in court, right? You don't want to work on a sports car, you want to drive the sports car. Now, how do you get there? Well, unfortunately, every 1 hour in court, they say, trial lawyers say in Canada, US, you need 3 months of 3 hours of preparation. 1 hour in court, 3 hours of preparation. But as you get older, that 3 hours of preparation probably divides in half because you get better. Who are you going to hire if it's the same price and we're two pilots and we're the same age and we have the same education and we're both at Air Canada? But I got 10,000 hours in the air, the other one has 400 hours. Who do you want to fly the plane? Who do you feel comfortable with? That's what I sell because I got so many hours in court that now people pay me thousands and thousands of dollars to look at the situation and tell them what to do. Should I plead guilty to something? Should I plead not guilty? Should I speak to the police? Should I not speak to the police? Can you get this thrown out with a search warrant? I want to save my reputation. I don't care about what I did. There's all these things that a good lawyer has to be a psychologist, a sociologist, a media expert, an expert in the charter, an expert in ethics, an expert in strategy, negotiations. You have to be intimidating sometimes. You have to know the Court of Appeal, the Supreme Court of Canada. You have no substantive law. You have no procedure. You have no evidence. You have no charter. Oh my God, I'm gonna have a nervous breakdown. Huh? So you got to be able to, don't ever think you always have to do an A+ job. We probably operate at about a B-. Every 10 decisions I make, I'm dead wrong on 2. But if I'm batting 80%, that's pretty good. But if you want to have a job that's as close as you'll ever be to being a Hollywood movie star without all the risk of getting there and all the peanut butter sandwiches and waiting in a motel in LA to get one acting position with 5,000 applying, get into criminal law, either as a crown or defense, maybe later as a judge, because I do find it's very interesting. You see a lot of people that deserve a second chance, and you see a lot of people that don't. And my biggest transition, I thought, was from going to crown attorney to defense. And I thought that I can't defend these people, like kiddie porn and murder and child abuse and all that. But believe it or not, everybody has a story, and everybody's probably guilty of something, but you have to have an advocate. And this is a country where we're great that we can have one. In England, somebody will prosecute a murder one day with those wigs or whatever, and the barrister, the next day they'll defend somebody. It's different respect. Everybody just knows you got a job, you're a barrister, you're good at what you do. If the government pays you good, if defense pays you good. I've been offered to come in for special prosecutions, but it just hasn't worked so far. So, you know, and I think of cool things, like I wouldn't mind going to be a professor in Australia for a year and talk about Canadian constitutional law, like Peter Hogg, a constitutional expert that was a Kiwi friend of mine. And I think of going to The Hague in the Netherlands and being asked to come and prosecute a war crime. That'd be cool. They probably pay you pretty good and go over and do that. So you're only as old as you want to be. And my plan now is I'm going to go from 5 days to 4 days to 3 days every 3 years, 2 days. When I'm 70, I'll still walk in and do a trial, and I'll still have a piece of this firm and be general counsel, like the guy or girl with the round glasses and the white hair, like in Law and Order, the bald guy behind the desk in the cane. Because I can still make $15,000, $20,000 in 1 day. And that's not bad for some extra money to help along your sister, or if your son has to, get a special operation, you got another, what's that, 60, it's another 700,000 a year. So you got to think big, even though you might seem small right now, and the world's there. So I'll take 2 more questions. And then if you guys ever want to pop in, Josephine can tell you about, I think we all have women here, what's it like being a woman in criminal law, where 30 years ago it was 90% men. The Crown Attorney's Office, when I started in the 80s, was 80% men and 20% women. Now it's 65% women and 35% men. And I always thought the best prosecutors were women myself, and they were my mentors when I was a Crown. Sarah Welch and Mark Creel, Christy McGoy, to name a few. Anyhow, any last questions from the gallery?
I
What
think-
about Julie Hermans?
Yeah, go ahead, Julie.
Yeah, so I had a question because you mentioned The Hague. I actually grew up there my whole life, but I was wondering,
Cool.
as like a Canadian lawyer, is it like hard to like practice abroad, or like how does that work?
No, they like Canadians because they like our institutions. We got great university, we got great law schools. In fact, I'll just give you another tip that you'll find very interesting. I hate hiring anybody that's from Canada and from Toronto as an example, and couldn't get into any law school in Canada. I don't care what your excuse is. And this is what I'm thinking. I might not be saying it, and a lot of other lawyers are, and they go, oh, I went over to England because their parents had money or whatever. And their excuse was, oh, I just partied too much in undergrad or whatever. I find the law schools in England are terrible, save and except Oxford. I find most of the law schools in the States are terrible. But what's that swear word? Shitty? Like Cooley Law School and the University of Southern, whatever, Virginia, Alabama, Mississippi. Obviously, there's Harvard. If I had a choice between McGill and Harvard, I'd obviously go to Harvard if I was accepted for a whole bunch of different reasons that is obvious to you smart people. But I mean, I find that the quality of people that had to go overseas to go to law school, it's just, they're terrible. The institution in Canada, law schools in Canada, if I got accepted to anyone, I would go, including Lakehead. I'm just saying that because it's new. But like I said, there's great law schools in Canada. Ottawa's a great law school. I still think Osgoode is, Western, Queens, U of T, McGill, Calgary, UBC. I think Windsor's great. Dalhousie's great. So Victoria's got a good law school too, actually, if you want to be on Vancouver Island, which is pretty cool. So all I'm saying to you is apply to every law school, do a shotgun approach. Winnipeg's all right too. And if you get in one, go, just go. You can always transfer. Don't worry about the money. You'll make it back in 2 years. Or like I had my what do you call it, OSAP? I paid my OSAP off in about 1 year as a lawyer, like everything. And I was on heavy OSAP. Sounds like drugs. I was on heavy OSAP and drugs. So is it still called OSAP? The student loans or whatever? Ryerson, I'd go to Ryerson. I got no problem with that. And if you wanted enough, you got to sacrifice, right? I look at people. I never was interested in partying that much. I was in a frat, and I used to work hard, party hard. I'd go drinking on Saturday, and that was good enough for me. And I'd hang out. But I mean, you got your whole life to party. Would you rather party when you got a convertible and you own your property and you can sit back? A lot of these people are trying to reach for the sky right now. And when I was 21, what would I do on a trip to Brazil? I got no money. I'm backpacking and staying at dangerous place. That's fun too. And I did do that. I did my backpacking, but I did it between articling and bar ads. You'll find you have like 4 months off a lot of times. Or when you get called to the bar, you go, look, you gave me a job. I worked my butt off during articling. Can you just give me 2 months? I want to go to Europe, or what? I want to go to Iran. I always wanted to go Machu Picchu in Peru or whatever, because, the other argument is when you get old, what if I get hit by a car and I missed all this? But when I was, one good thing about being a Crown attorney, government, they give me a lot of holidays. I had like 8 weeks paid vacation when I left. I used to put them all together and go see 5 or 6 countries in the world. Like I'd hit South America and go to Brazil, Paraguay, Uruguay, Chile, Argentina. I'd phone all the cops and they come and get me. The RCMP is in every city in the world because I was a homicide prosecutor. Take me around, machine gun in a trunk, great stories. Then I went to South Africa and I put Namibia and Zimbabwe, Kenya and Tanzania. And what's that island? I went to Zanzibar, not the bar on Yonge Street. Did that. Then I went to Middle East. I went to Jordan, Lebanon, Beirut, Gaza Strip, Israel. Really cool. And then I went to Vietnam, Thailand, Suriname, Laos. And then I went to India, Maldives, Dubai. So that's what I did. And I wasn't that person that had to go to Florida and lay on the beach or go get all hammered in Daytona. I was seeing cool shit. And I brought some really good friends with me, and I took my girlfriends a few times and my wife, and then I went by myself because people are too scared to go to South Africa. You know, it was dangerous, but it wasn't that dangerous, you know, and I learned a lot of stuff about man. I met Mandela for about 2 seconds, and you can't, it's priceless stuff, you know, and it teaches you how to be a good, better person too. So I'm going to take one more question, and then you guys will get a hold of my number one lawyer, Josephine, and you can maybe come down if you guys want to come and hang out in June or July for, a day in the life, and we'll try to teach you something else that you might be interested in. So who hasn't asked a question yet?
I'll ask one.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I'll ask the last question. I know that a lot of people are wanting to go into criminal law. Personally, I'm either leaning toward criminal or family, but more criminal. And I was wondering what kind of like professional or personal skills do you think someone should have to make them like a successful criminal lawyer?
Well, I think you don't want to come across arrogant. You don't want to be condescending. You want to be humble, but you have to be positive. You have to be assertive. You have to be charismatic. You have to be knowledgeable. You have to be organized. You have to be able to mold yourself to the biker client or the politician client or the dentist client. You have to be able to be a strategist. When someone comes in my office, I have to think about where we're going to be in 20 months. I got to think about a bail hearing. I got to think about a preliminary hearing. I got to think about charter application. I got to think about a judge and jury trial. I got to think of how these people are going to pay this. I got to think about, will they need some counseling because of all the adverse media? I got to talk about controlling the media. There's all these things that go into I got to think about how much to charge. How much do you charge for this? If you charge too much, they'll run out the door. If you charge too little, they think you're no good. So, the way you learn is from people like me, I guess, because when I was a young lawyer 1 month out, I found people who were very rude, and none of these lawyers wanted to help me. And I'd ask a question. They go, that's a stupid question. The reason we hired you is because you're supposed to know that. Now get out of my office. And I said to myself, not what a wonderful world. I said to myself, I'm never going to be that person because I don't like that. It's like your mom and dad that fight all the time, but somehow they're still together. And you say, well, I have my kids. I'm not gonna be that kind of person. But sometimes your parents are right. Like my parents just drove me. If I got 85, they said, why don't you get 90? And I thought they were assholes. If I got 90, why do you get 95? But they had a point, and they pulled it off. They fooled me for the right reasons. How was that? Okay.
Oh, I totally
I'm gonna
agree.
let you go. Sorry for being late.
No worries.
Boring.
No worries. This was so
Packed a lot in there, and I just thought to be frank is a better way to learn.
for sure. 100%.
So talk to Josephine. You guys got my numbers and all that, and have a great week, and good luck with it all.
All right. Thank you so much, Calvin.
Thank you.
Okay, guys, take care.
Have a good night, everyone.
Bye now.
Bye.